So today is the 21st of November, 2020, Saturday. We gather together to practice the Dhamma, to train our minds to have more knowing, more wisdom. This wisdom is something that's very important. We see some individuals are born into the world with a low level of wisdom and perhaps have difficulty learning and understanding things. Some are born with a high level of wisdom and can learn and understand very quickly. Similarly, some individuals see the Dhamma very quickly. They may listen to only one Dhamma talk and then they can realize stream entry or arahantship just in the course of that one Dhamma talk. Even there are stories of individuals just 7 years of age with a high level of wisdom and could see the Dhamma at that age. One example is the younger brother of Venerable Sariputta named Ravata. He was just about 7 years old, or very young, and his mother was worried that he would go ordained, so arranged for him to marry at a very young age, maybe just around 8 years old. And but the Venerable Ravata had great wisdom, and he sought a way out of this situation. So he's able to run away, ordain as a novice, and realize arahantship. And the reason he ran away was during the marriage ceremony. At one point, there was a blessing for long life for the bride and groom. And Venerable Ravata saw the grandmother of his bride, who was very old, and he saw that she was not attractive, not appealing to look at. And the body, the skin, the teeth were all degrading. And 80 years old or more, then the body is just not attractive in this way, and is also suffering, also painful and stressful. So Venerable Ravata saw this and had the wisdom to know this very quickly. And this was the cause for him to seek out ordination at such a young age, and this resulted in his attainment of arahantship. So for ourselves, we also see old age, sickness and death. We know and witness for ourselves friends, relatives that are old or sick or die, or us ourselves may be old or sick, but we still don't accept that this is the reality, that this will also happen to us, that we'll grow old, get sick, and also die. And we can ask ourselves, what can we take from this world? What can we take with us when we die? And we see that the monastics and Ajahns had great good qualities in their hearts and great spiritual virtue in order to renounce the world. And we can see that even if we're not even reached 100 years of age, and before we even reach 100, we're already old and already sick. So the body just can't be strong all the time. And this is the way of nature. This is something that's true. So those with wisdom see this truth. And so while we still have strength and energy, then we practice to train our minds, to have mindfulness with the chanting. And we can reflect on the differences between animals and humans. How are they different? Animals have a high level of stress and suffering. They're constantly seeking a way to sustain their lives, seeking to survive. And they live in great fear of death and danger, much of the time or all the time. And they have no time and no opportunity to develop their minds, to increase in goodness and increase in wisdom. The mind of an animal is placed in a body and a brain, that just is very difficult to develop and learn and grow, a very low opportunity to develop. However, as humans, we have a very good opportunity to grow and develop. And we can see that the animal, we can say, it walks horizontally. It doesn't increase or grow, and they can't collect their minds in concentration. We can compare this to someone who's drunk. They can't walk or stand straight, and they can't collect their minds in samadhi during the time that they're drunk. So, but a human in a normal state of mind, they are able to practice meditation, mental cultivation, and do chanting. And they are able to train their minds to do shamatha practice. They are able to develop. And one thing that is very important to develop is right view. Right view is something of a very high level of importance. For example, believing in goodness, believing in merit, believing in rebirth in future lives, believing that karma, the results of actions, is a law, that whatever karma we make, we receive the results of that action. For instance, one does good and one goes to a good place. So these are aspects of right view. If one has wrong view, then it just makes everything wrong, everything in one's life. For instance, one doesn't believe in goodness and the results of goodness, and so one doesn't rejoice in the goodness of others. And they may even have jealousy towards others and not respect anyone and not accept why people are born into different circumstances in this world due to a lack of conviction in the law of karma. So this right view, this straight and correct view, leads to the end of suffering, leads to nibbana. So on this path we need to build merit. And so merit and goodness, what are the types, or what are different types of merit? One type is dana, giving, and we sacrifice things, we give them away. And normally people think that the various things belong to them. They think, oh, this is mine, this belongs to me. But we can even look at our very own human bodies. These bodies are merely something that's borrowed from the world. It's just the elements of earth, air, fire, and water gathered together, just temporarily on loan from the world. So we have these bodies and we seek out even more things in the world to claim as ours, to claim as mine. We can see that even the self is not ours. Even the self that we cling to is not mine, is not ours. We're just here temporarily. We can't find any permanence anywhere. So the Buddha knew this about humans, that they cling to things as me and mine, and that humans cling to wealth and seek out wealth and want to accumulate it and feel like the wealth belongs to them. So this is one of the reasons the Buddha taught dana as a primary teaching, one of the first teachings he introduced to people. So if people give dana to others in society and practice not harming others and practice self-sacrifice and giving, then this is something that's very beautiful. Then everywhere in society, everywhere where this is happening and people practice this, will have development and prosperity. And this is a great goodness that one can do oneself. Whether others do it or not, one can practice this oneself. So one practices to have faith, to practice generosity, and this makes the heart and mind peaceful and at ease. And the benefit of giving is a fresh mind that feels uplifted. We see that there are many poor people in the world. There are many people in poverty around the world. And in various countries, people may be poor and only have just 1 cent or 5 cents on their person. There was an example of one poor person who went to McDonald's with this such a low amount of money, just 1 cent or 5 cents, and looked what can they buy with this amount of money. They were so hungry, they just wanted even just a little bit, even just being able to buy just one French fry. They just wanted just even a little bit of food because they were so hungry. And the person working there, the person selling the food, felt this loving kindness and this desire to help this poor individual. So we can see that this loving kindness and compassionate wish on the part of the seller, this is an old good karma of that impoverished individual, even though in that present lifetime they're experiencing the results of painful karma. So the food seller, the employee of McDonald's, helped this impoverished person and gave them a lot of food, gave them so much food that they were able to eat until they were full. And the employee even gave them a burger and fries to go as well, so they could have more food later. And this impoverished individual felt so happy. They felt so happy they cried right there. And this employee broke the rules of the McDonald's restaurant, but the boss there was able to accept this and didn't punish the employee, because the people involved could see that this quality of loving kindness is something that protects the world. It's a beautiful quality that protects the world. And so society was able to open and accept this behavior on the part of the employee. The employee acted outside of the rules of their job, outside of the rules of their place of employment, but they acted inside the bounds of Dhamma, inside the bounds of goodness, inside the bounds of generosity. So helping impoverished individuals, this is something we do that is a great merit. And the benefit of this merit is happiness and fullness of heart. So whether one gives to monastics or the poor or the needy, then this is merit as well. So the Buddha taught to know this quality of generosity, to practice this quality of generosity. And further on from that, one also knows and practices sila Dhamma, the quality of virtue or morality. So for ourselves, we have this virtue, and this is a merit, a great merit, not stealing, not taking what's not given. And then if one has extra, one can give this away. And if individuals practice in this way, then society is at ease, is peaceful, because people don't feel like they have a great surplus that they have to protect. So this right view is something that's very important. When there's wrong view, then everything in one's life goes wrong. One doesn't see the benefits of generosity. One doesn't see the benefits of virtue. And this just makes everything go in a wrong or in a bad way. And if one has the right view and practices virtue, then one is able to patiently endure with the difficulties of life, and this decreases the problems one has for oneself and decreases the problems in society. Although if one has no virtue and does not patiently endure, then if we get hit, we hit back. If we get hurt, we hurt back. And it just goes on in this way. And this is what leads to wars starting between countries. it all comes down to a lack of virtue, a lack of sila. Therefore, we should practice virtue, practice generosity a lot. This is something we should be able to do. And this virtue and generosity leads to happiness wherever we go. Wherever we go, we'll feel this happiness of heart from these qualities of virtue and generosity that we've cultivated in our own minds. And we respect one another as well. We respect and this respect is a good quality in our hearts. We respect goodness, and we practice respecting the elderly, though not everyone in the modern day practices in this way. But we can also respect the good qualities in people, even if they're younger than us. For instance, if a monk sees a novice with good qualities, then they can respect that novice, even though they may be much younger. And there was one story from the Buddha's time where there was a novice standing outside the Buddha's hut, and some elder monks came to visit the Buddha, and they saw this very young novice outside the hut. And they thought the novice was young, and they decided to be playful and pat him on the head and play with him a little bit before going to see the Buddha. And the Buddha received these elder monk visitors, and he asked them, he said, "Oh, did you see the great Mahatera, the great elder outside the hut?" And these older monks were surprised to hear the Buddha say this. And they found out that this novice was an arahant, fully enlightened being. So after this, the Teras, the elder monks, went to ask forgiveness from this novice, because the novice, while being young bodily, inside his mind, he was a great elder, was an arahant. And the novice, when the monks came to play with him and touch him on the head, he was just in a state of equanimity, because due to his high level of wisdom and attainment, he didn't cling to conventions, didn't cling to things in the world. He understood that these bodies are just conglomerations of the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water. It's just the form, materiality, and mentality. So he's able to let go and not cling to these things. So this respect that we can cultivate is a very lofty quality. And it's one quality that gives rise to merit. And when individuals make merit, then this leads to heaven, leads to heavenly states. And yet we see that even these beautiful, pleasant, heavenly states is something that are not stable, not permanent. So given this, we train our minds to have renunciation, to have nekkhamma. We practice renunciation. We practice to train our minds to be with just a single object, to be mindful. And this gives rise to rapture and bliss, piti and sukha. And we contemplate to see the truth. Once the mind is peaceful in this way, we contemplate into the Dhamma. We see anicca, dukkha, anatta, the ever-changing, stressful, and not self nature of phenomena. We remember and we put down the causes of suffering, and then we see that phenomena just arise and pass away. And we put down the causes of suffering, and then these causes arise again, put them down again, and we just contemplate this and see it as Dhamma. And we can see that this, when the mind doesn't have collectedness, doesn't have samadhi, and the mindfulness is low, is not very much, then the mind just chases after moods and feelings and sense impressions. And then the sense of self arises, and we feel an increased sense of self. So we need time. We need time to practice. We need time to contemplate 1 hour or 2 hours a day, to contemplate the quality of not self, to see this body as merely a pile of suffering, a pile of stress, something that's ever-changing, not permanent, not a me, not a mine, not a self. We contemplate to make the mind empty and collected, and this is something that we are capable of doing. So may you be intent in your Dhamma practice.